The year is 1219. The Mongol Empire stretches from Korea to the Caspian Sea, 20 million square miles, the largest contiguous empire in human history, and at its heart, one man, Genghis Khan, Temujin, the universal ruler. He's 62 years old, a strategic genius, a brutal conqueror, a man who has killed millions and reshaped the world. His armies are invincible, his name makes emperors tremble. And right now, he's leading 200,000 Mongol warriors west toward the Khwarezmian Empire to punish them for killing his ambassadors. It will be a campaign of total annihilation. Cities will burn, populations will be massacred. History will remember it as one of the most devastating military operations ever conducted. But what if, on a dusty morning in Central Asia, something impossible appeared in the sky above his camp? An MQ-9 Reaper drone, armed with Hellfire missiles, piloted from 700 years in the future. Its mission? Eliminate the target. One man, the most dangerous man in the 13th century. Welcome to What If War. Today, we're not asking if modern technology can defeat ancient armies. We're asking something darker. Can you assassinate history itself? Can you kill the man who changed the world? Let's find out. First, we need to understand exactly who Genghis Khan is. This isn't just a warlord. This is perhaps the most successful military commander in human history. Born Temujin in 1162, he unified the Mongol tribes through a combination of brilliant strategy, ruthless violence, and political genius. By 1206, he was declared Genghis Khan, ruler of all Mongols, and then he turned outward. China fell, Central Asia fell, Korea, Persia, Russia, all of them crumbled before the Mongol war machine. But here's what makes him truly dangerous. He's not just a conqueror, he's an innovator. He created the first international postal system, established religious freedom across his empire, promoted based on merit, not birth. His legal code, the Yasa, brought order to chaos. He was brutal, yes, genocidally brutal, but he was also brilliant. And by 1219 he commands an army unlike anything the world has seen. 200,000 cavalry, each warrior with multiple horses capable of riding 100 miles in a day, armed with composite bows that can pierce armor at 70 yards, organized into decimal units, tens, hundreds, thousands, with communication systems using flags and messengers that rival modern military efficiency. They use psychological warfare, spreading terror deliberately. They employ Chinese siege engineers with explosives and trebuchets. This is not a barbarian horde. This is a professional military machine that conquered half the known world. And now, somewhere in the future, a decision has been made. Eliminate Genghis Khan, prevent the deaths of 40 million people, stop the Mongol Empire before it spreads. The method? A targeted drone strike. Precision, surgical. The MQ-9 Reaper is perfect for this. It can loiter for hours, track targets with infrared and optical sensors, strike with Hellfire missiles accurate to within 3 feet. It's an assassination platform, and it's being sent to kill the most dangerous man in the medieval world. The drone appears over Central Asia, modern-day Uzbekistan. The operator, call sign Hawkeye 6, sits in a climate-controlled room at Creech Air Force Base, Nevada. He's been briefed. The target is Genghis Khan, Mongol Emperor, approximate location provided by historical records. The year is 1219. The mission is classified at the highest levels. He doesn't ask how time travel is possible. He doesn't ask if this is ethical. He asks one question. How do I identify the target in an army of 200,000? The answer comes from intelligence analysts who've studied every historical text. Genghis Khan travels with his command structure. His GR, his tent, is larger than others, gold-trimmed. He's always surrounded by his keshig, his bodyguards, elite warriors, 10,000 of them who never leave his side. He rides a white horse. Historical accounts mention this specifically, and he wears distinctive armor. Not the heaviest, he's too old for that, but decorated. Practical, but clearly marking him as someone important. The analysts provide composite sketches, behavioral patterns. Genghis Khan leads from the front, but not recklessly. He positions himself where he can see the battlefield, direct movements. He's tactical. The drone operator studies the briefing. He's hunted terrorists in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. But this is different. This target built an empire, changed world history. He pushes the thought aside. Mission is mission. He launches. The Reaper crosses into 1219. The transition is disorienting. Instruments flicker. GPS goes offline. But the onboard systems stabilize. The camera feeds show terrain, rolling steps, and then movement. Thousands of horses, tents spread across miles, smoke from cooking fires. The Mongol army. Hawkeye 6 zooms in, starts the search. He's looking for patterns, command structures. The largest GR is easy to spot, 3 times the size of others. Surrounded by guards, he marks it. Watches, hours pass. The drone circles at 15,000 feet. Invisible, silent. The Mongols have no concept of aircraft. They don't look up. Why would they? Threats come from the ground, from the horizon, not from the sky. Then movement. A figure emerges from the large gyr, surrounded by guards, 10, 20, 50 of them. The figure is older, moves with purpose but not youth, wears armor that catches the light. And when he mounts his horse, the entire camp seems to shift around him. Orders are given, messengers ride out. This is command, this is control. Hawkeye 6 enhances the image. The horse is white, the armor matches descriptions. The behavior matches the profile. He's 90% certain. He marks the target, requests confirmation from command. The response is delayed. Hours pass. The target moves through the camp, inspecting troops, reviewing siege equipment, consulting with generals. Hawkeye 6 follows. The Reaper's camera never loses him. Finally, confirmation comes through. Authorization granted. Engage target at first opportunity. Minimize collateral damage. The operator arms a Hellfire missile, AGM-114, laser-guided, 20-pound warhead, designed to penetrate armored vehicles. Against a man on horseback? Instantaneous death.
But here's where it gets complicated. Genghis Khan is never alone. He's always surrounded. Right now, he's in the center of his camp. Thousands of people within the blast radius. Women, children, non-combatants. The rules of engagement are clear. Minimize collateral damage. The operator waits, watches. Genghis Khan moves to the edge of camp. Fewer people, he's with his generals. Maybe 20 men. Planning the campaign, the operator calculates 20 men, all military targets, all commanders. This is as clean as it gets. He acquires the laser lock. The Hellfire is ready. He places his finger on the trigger and hesitates, but because he realizes something. He's about to kill a man who, from his perspective, has done nothing wrong yet. It's 1219. The massacres haven't happened. The cities haven't burned. This version of Genghis Khan is planning a campaign, yes, but he hasn't executed it. Is he guilty of future crimes? The operator pushes the thought away. He has orders. He fires. The Hellfire launches. 9 seconds to impact. The missile streaks down at Mach 1.3. The Mongols hear something. A whistle, a roar. They look up, see a streak of light, and then the world explodes. The Hellfire impacts directly on Genghis Khan. The shaped charge detonates. The explosion is massive, a fireball 30 feet wide. The Khan and everyone within 20 feet are vaporized instantly. The shockwave throws horses and men like toys. Tents collapse, fires ignite, and then silence. Shocked, horrified silence. The Mongol warriors stare at the crater where their emperor stood. He's gone. Not wounded, not dying. Gone, erased. Along with his top generals, the Keshik, the bodyguards who never failed. They couldn't protect against something they couldn't see, couldn't understand, couldn't fight. Panic spreads. Is this divine punishment? Is this sorcery? The shamans are called. They examine the crater, find metal fragments, strange unknown materials. They declare it an omen. The gods have struck down the Khan. Hawkasix watches through the camera. Target eliminated. He reports mission success. Begins the return flight. The drone climbs, circles once, and vanishes back through the temporal anomaly. The operator will be debriefed, praised, promoted, probably. He killed Genghis Khan. He changed history. Except, did he? Because here's what happens next. The Mongol Empire doesn't collapse, it fractures. Genghis Khan had 4 sons. Joki, Chagatai, Ogudai, Tolui, in real history. He designated Ogudai as his successor before his death in 1227. But in our timeline, he dies in 1219, sudden and without clear succession. The sons go to war. Civil war, each claims the right to rule. Each has armies loyal to them. The Mongol Empire, which should have continued expanding for decades, turns inward. Brother fights brother. The invasion of Khwarezm continues, but without coordination, without the Khan's strategic genius. The campaign becomes a raid, not a conquest. Cities are still burned, yes, but the systematic empire-building approach dies with Genghis Khan. Joki, the eldest, claims the throne, but there are rumors he's not Genghis Khan's biological son. Chagatai refuses to follow him. Ogedei, the designated heir in real history, tries to unify the brothers. Fails. Tolui, the youngest, is too young to be taken seriously. The empire splits. The Golden Horde in the west under Joki, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, Ogedei's territory in Mongolia, and Tolui's holdings in the east. They fight for years. The Mongol expansion stops. Europe is spared. Russia is spared. The Middle East is spared. 40 million people who would have died in Mongol conquests live. The operator is declared a hero. The mission is classified, but those who know call him the man who saved the world. Except the ripples spread further. Without Mongol rule, the Silk Road doesn't flourish the way it did. Trade between East and West slows. Technologies don't spread as quickly. Gunpowder takes longer to reach Europe. The printing press is delayed. The Renaissance might happen differently, or later, or not at all.
China, which was conquered by the Mongols and became the Yuan dynasty, remains fragmented. The Song dynasty continues, but weakened, eventually falls to internal strife instead of external conquest. Korea develops independently. Persia isn't devastated by Mongol invasion, so Islamic Golden Age continues longer. Scientific advancement in the Middle East proceeds uninterrupted, but also the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace that allowed safe travel across Asia, never happens. The exchange of ideas, culture, technologies between East and West is reduced. The world develops differently, not better or worse, just different. And the question becomes, did killing Genghis Khan save 40 million lives, or did it cost humanity centuries of development? There's no way to know. You can't run the experiment twice. But back in 1219, the Mongols are dealing with immediate consequences. The army is in chaos. Some generals want to continue the campaign, others want to return to Mongolia to settle the succession. The Khwarezmian Empire, which was about to be annihilated, gets a reprieve. They're confused. The Mongol army that was steamrolling toward them suddenly stops, splinters, retreats in sections. The Shah of Khwarezm declares it a miracle, divine intervention. He doesn't know how right he is. His empire survives another decade before falling to internal problems, but he lives. His people live. And the Mongol generals who were with Genghis Khan when he died, they become legends. They tell stories of the sky opening, of fire descending, of the Khan being taken by the gods. Some believe he ascended to heaven, others think he was punished for hubris. The truth, that he was killed by a missile from 700 years in the future, is beyond their ability to comprehend. So it becomes myth. The shamans declare the site holy. A shrine is built where Genghis Khan died. For centuries, Mongols make pilgrimages there. They leave offerings, pray for the Khan's spirit. And they find strange objects in the ground. Metal fragments that don't rust. Materials they can't identify. These become sacred relics, kept in temples, studied by scholars who have no framework to understand them. In the 20th century, archaeologists excavate the site, find the relics, are baffled. The metallurgy doesn't match anything from the 13th century. Some suggest meteor impact. Others think it's evidence of advanced medieval technology. A few, the ones dismissed as conspiracy theorists, suggest something else, something impossible, time travel, intervention. But they're laughed out of academic circles until classified documents are leaked in 2045. Details of a black ops program, temporal warfare, targeting historical figures to prevent atrocities. The Genghis Khan operation is listed, sanitized, redacted. But enough details leak to confirm it. The world reacts with horror and fascination. Did we have the right? Should we change history? The debate rages. Ethicists argue both sides. One side says preventing 40 million deaths justifies anything. The other says playing God with history is the ultimate arrogance. We don't know what we're changing. We don't understand the consequences. The program is shut down. All temporal weapons are destroyed, or so the official statement says. But rumors persist. Other operations, other targets, Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot. Did they all die naturally? Or were they removed? We'll never know. Classified above top secret. Buried so deep that not even presidents are briefed. But the Genghis Khan operation becomes the known example. The case study, the proof that we can change history, and the warning that we shouldn't. Meanwhile, in the alternate timeline created by the Khan's death, the world develops differently. Europe doesn't face Mongol invasion, so doesn't develop the intense fortification culture that came from that threat. Military technology evolves along different paths. Russia, never conquered by Mongols, doesn't develop the centralized autocratic system that defined it for centuries. Maybe it becomes more European, more democratic, or maybe it fragments into dozens of small states. China, without Mongol rule, doesn't have the cultural exchange that brought so many innovations. The Ming dynasty, which rose after Mongol rule in our timeline, never exists in this one. Instead, a different dynasty forms, with different policies, different technologies, different ambitions. The Black Death, which spread along Mongol trade routes in our timeline, spreads differently in this one. Maybe kills fewer people because the routes aren't as developed, Or maybe kills more because populations are denser without Mongol devastation. Every variable changes, and here's the terrifying part. The drone operator who pulled the trigger? He doesn't exist in the new timeline because the history that led to his birth changed. His ancestors, somewhere in the chain, were affected by the altered timeline. So when the mission succeeds, when Genghis Khan dies, the operator ceases to exist retroactively. The paradox is immediate and absolute, except he does exist, because he came from a timeline where Genghis Khan lived until 1227. He's a ghost, a remnant, an impossibility walking around in a world that shouldn't have him. The temporal physicists call it an orphaned timeline fragment. The operator calls it hell. He remembers a world that no longer exists, knows history that didn't happen, watches as his family photos fade because those people were never born. He's the only one who remembers the original timeline, the only one who knows what was sacrificed. And it breaks him. He tries to tell people, tries to explain that the world is wrong, that Genghis Khan was supposed to conquer half of Asia, that 40 million people were supposed to die, that the Silk Road was supposed to flourish, that the world was supposed to be different. They think he's insane. Put him in psychiatric care. He becomes a cautionary tale. The man who claimed he killed Genghis Khan with a missile from the future. A sad story of PTSD and delusion. Except it's not delusion. It's memory, true memory of a timeline that was erased. He lives for 40 more years, never stops insisting he's telling the truth, dies alone, forgotten, and the mission remains classified. The truth buried. The world continues, blissfully unaware that it was rewritten. So let's ask the impossible questions. Could a predator drone actually kill Genghis Khan? Technically, yes. A Hellfire missile doesn't care if the target is a terrorist or an emperor. If you can identify him, if you can track him, you can kill him. The technology is straightforward, but should you? That's where it gets complicated. Genghis Khan killed millions, but he also united the Silk Road, spread technologies, created systems of governance that influenced history. Remove him, and you remove all of that. 40 million people live. But how many others die in the altered timeline? We don't know. Can't know. And what about the operator? What about the person who has to live with killing a historical figure? With changing the world? That's not a burden anyone should carry. And here's the darkest question. If we could go back and kill any historical figure, who would it be? Hitler seems obvious. Stalin, Mao. But what are the consequences? Hitler dies in 1920. Does someone worse take his place? Does World War II still happen, but differently? Does the Holocaust still occur? But we don't have the cultural memory to prevent future genocides. Every assassination creates ripples. Unpredictable, uncontrollable ripples. That's why temporal warfare is a nightmare. You can win every battle and lose everything else. You can save millions and doom billions. There's no good answer, no clean solution, just impossible choices and unknowable consequences. So what do you think? If you had a predator drone and could go back to any point in history, would you do it? Would you kill Genghis Khan, Hitler, Alexander the Great? Or would you leave history alone, knowing that every change could make things worse? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're fascinated by these impossible moral dilemmas wrapped in military scenarios, smash that subscribe button. Because next week we're asking, what if modern Marines had to defend against a zombie horde in medieval London? Black Death meets modern tactics. It's going to be insane. This has been What If War, where the past meets the future and every trigger pull rewrites eternity. Stay curious, stay tactical, and remember, the most dangerous weapon isn't the one that kills, it's the one that changes everything.